In Nigeria, it is not uncommon to find university students who believe that having sex for the first time will not get them pregnant, or having sex standing up will not allow the semen to be deposited. Or worse, we see a lot of young women who continue to take things like antibiotics right after sex as a form of birth control. In this video, I will explain why I believe comprehensive sex education is the best way to tackle misconceptions surrounding sex, and also elaborate on what exactly sex education is, and most importantly, answer the question, won't sex education make teenagers want to have sex? Before I jump into the conversation of sex education, I want to explain why this topic seems like such a huge thing right now. In the world that we live now, young people are growing up differently than their parents and grandparents. People are getting into adolescence at a much younger age. Back then, we moved from childhood to adulthood because people got married at a much earlier age. But right now, because there's a delay in that transition, adolescence seems like such a pivotal time in every young person's life. Research shows that young people are having sex at about the same age as people back then. But again, because people are married later in life, it seems like there's such an influx of premarital sex. And if we're going to be honest with ourselves, young people are exposed to a lot of opportunities, and with opportunities definitely comes challenges. I mean, when we see things like the internet and the cell phones, and we also have lots of programs on TV and radio, there is no way that young people are not exposed to an array of misinformation concerning sex. This is why it's imperative that we bring in sex education to tackle all these societal changes that we notice on a daily basis. But what exactly is sex education? Is it going around talking to teenagers about how to have sex or how to wear condoms? Because that is the major idea of what people believe when we talk about sex education. That is not it at all. According to Planned Parenthood, sex education is a high-quality teaching and learning about a broad variety of topics related to sex and sexuality, exploring values and beliefs about those topics, and gaining the skills that are needed to navigate relationships and manage one's own sexual health. These can be taught from as young as 2 years old. And let me clarify the biggest misconception about sex education. When I talk about teaching sex education to people as young as 2, we're discussing what we call appropriate sex education. A child that is from infancy to 2 years old does not need to know about sex. You don't teach them about sex. You teach them about their body. You say, this is your head, this is your arm, this is your penis, and this is your vagina. You allow the child that is 2 to actually be able to name those parts of their bodies that are referred to as their genitals. Then when a child moves from 2 to the age of 5, what we're discussing now are the basics of reproduction, not sex, but what is pregnancy? Where do babies come from? Okay, man and a woman come together to make a baby, and a baby grows in mommy's tummy. You know, those are the conversations we talk about. We don't teach them about sex because a child who's in the age of 2 to 5 doesn't care about sex. They care more about where do babies come from, mommy. So that is the conversation we have with children 2 to 5. And also in that age group, we talk about the privacy around your body. That is consent. And contrary to popular belief, consent is not something that is told to a 16-year-old and say, when that man wants to touch you, don't let anybody touch you. No, it's a fundamental human right that is taught from infancy to let them know that you own the space, you own your body. Nobody should be able to invade that privacy, invade your own personal space without you allowing them to do that. So those are the kind of conversations that they have from infancy and up to 5 years old. We're not teaching them about sex. Sex education that is appropriate does not bombard the child with all the messages at once. I mean, I can't talk about sex education for every age grade, but if you'd like for me to do a video on this separately, please drop a comment below and I will do that. So as the child matures, the themes around sex education continues to get complicated. So everything isn't taught at once. However, comprehensive sex education should include themes like relationships, personal skills, sexual behavior, sexual health, society, and culture. I obviously cannot go into everything sex education, so in this video I'm going to focus on teenagers and sex education. Many people believe that sex education for teenagers will make them want to have sex, which is so untrue. But because the human mind is simply hardwired to believe in cause and effect, we like to pick the simplest story or the best story that creates the image that fits our narrative. So you see a girl that had sex and is now pregnant, and you say they're going to teach them about sex in her school, why would she want to try it? You know, that is the way the human mind works. We piece the best thing together and say, of course it's because she heard about the word sex, now she wants to go try it. But it's not true, because if that was the case, in a country like Nigeria where sex education is not rampant, we're not meant to be tackling a high teenage pregnancy rate or dealing with a high level of illegal abortions in the country, and have countries like Amsterdam, Germany, Italy that people like to look at the sex capital, with some of the lowest teen pregnancy rates in the whole of Europe, and Netherlands, where we have the red light district with the lowest abortion rate in the world. These European countries tackle their teenage pregnancy by offering a certain type of sex education program. Basically, we have two main types, that is comprehensive sex education and abstinence only sex education. And just like the name symbolizes, abstinence only emphasizes and prioritizes abstinence in their sex education programs, but comprehensive sex education highlights those themes that I discussed earlier. These European countries with low teenage pregnancies offer a holistic sex education program that does not look at sex as dirty or focus on just the dangers of sex, but let people know that sex is a positive, natural and healthy act. And they don't just focus on the STIs and unwanted pregnancies, but they also focus on choices that young people make. This allows young people to be able to make informed decisions about sex and their sexuality, and it also allows them develop critical thinking skills when discussing sex and sexuality, and most importantly helps debunk all the misconceptions and myths surrounding sex. In Nigeria, it is not uncommon to find young people who believe that having sex for the first time will not get them pregnant, or having sex standing up means that the semen cannot be deposited, or worse, we see a lot of young women who continue to take things like tramadol, antibiotics as a form of birth control. A recent study done in 2017 showed that just 29% of women and 27.9% of men aged 15 to 24 were able to accurately talk about ways to prevent STIs. This is why it is imperative to include comprehensive sex education in our curriculum and encourage it even outside of school, because if young people are not made aware or informed about sex, then it's easy for them to be taken advantage of by predators. I mean, how many times have I heard young people who say that if a man should rub your breast, then your breast will develop faster? And I believe this is why a lot of people look at teenagers who might have developed faster than their peers as sexually active or sexually promiscuous, because there's a misconception that developing fast or rapidly means that you're already engaging in sexual intercourse. And these misconceptions about sex and sexuality can lead to numerous negative consequences. Evidence have also shown that, contrary to popular belief, sex education does not make people want to have sex. It actually delays sexual intercourse and increases the use of condoms. And I'm sure, if it increases condoms, how is it delaying sex? Well, because it's a holistic sex education program. They talk about abstinence in collaboration with condom use or contraceptives in general. So they tell you that abstinence is the best way to avoid STIs and to avoid unwanted pregnancies. But in the case that you are not abstaining from sex, these are the things that you can do to protect yourself from unwanted pregnancies or STIs. And in Nigeria, where things like HIV, child marriage, sexual abuse, female genital mutilation are quite prevalent, it is so important to include these issues in our sex education programs. And also because we see so many young people who have normalized abusive practices due to ignorance, it is imperative that we begin to create a safe space where young people can talk about sex in a non-judgmental way. I obviously cannot go into everything sex education, but if you'd like for me to talk about sex education for parents so they can know how to talk to their children about it, please drop a comment and I would make a different video for that. But I have two questions for you. Who do you think should be responsible for sex education? Should it be the parents or should it be the school? And where did you learn about sex? Did you learn about it from home? Did you learn about it from your peers? Did you learn about it from books? Or did you just learn about it on your way as you grew up in life? I want to hear from you. My reply will be in the comments. I would like for us to start a honest and a healthy conversation around sex, sexuality, and comprehensive sex education. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, please do not forget to hit the thumbs up and subscribe to our YouTube channel. If you're watching this on Facebook, please share our video and like our page. My name is Lolo Cynthia, and I'll see you next week. Bye.